this grow got out of control fast. I've got 3 big plants packed into a 4x4 tent, and they're already pushing the limits of this space. In this video, I'll show you how they got here, from lighting and environment conditions, to the nutrition that fueled this explosive growth. But now that they're taking off, it's time to take control. I'll walk you through the training techniques that I'm using to manage the canopy, shape the plants, and set them up for a successful flowering phase. Okay, let's check on the plants that we have in the Vivo Sun 4x4 grow tent. This is a Pro Series tent. I actually got the whole kit. All right, we are exploding in this tent. 3 plants in here taking up almost the entire tent. We have just enough space for the humidifier down in the corner there. And I'm sure it's only a matter of time before this small piece right here that is empty is overtaken by plants. We are currently on day 9 of flower for the 2 plants on the right and day 6 of flower for the plant on the left. And some of you might recognize this from my past videos, but the 2 plants on the right here were the ones that were on the tray to grow. They were the ones that I transplanted out of 1-gallon containers into 5-gallon containers. As you can see, they have just absolutely exploded in growth since the transplant, and they are clearly overtaking the tent at this point. The plant on the left is the one in the hydro bucket. This is another one that I've been covering pretty closely on the channel. This is taking up 2 foot by 2 foot space easily. All 3 of these plants are the same cross. It's Frosted Lemonade crossed with Fire Shit. That's by Swank Genetics in collaboration with From the Stash. Got 2 different phenos in this tent. This front one here is pheno number 2, and these 2 in the back are pheno number 1. Really hard to kind of look at the structure and see if there's any differences here with so much going on in this tent. But yeah, as you can see, everything is very, very healthy. I've got 1 oscillating fan up top, just kind of blowing air through the top of the canopy. And I've got 1 on the bottom here covering the lower part of the grow tent. But yeah, I know the camera doesn't do justice. It is pretty difficult to see down here. The foliage is just so thick that there's really not much light getting down to the lowers here. This, I think, would be a perfect time to have some under canopy lighting or side lighting. But I don't have that, so we're just going to stick with the overhead lighting. This is the Vivo Sun Aerolite Wing 400, and it is pretty cool that these wings here are adjustable. You can see one side of the grow tent here is just growing upwards, so I had to kind of move it up, because if I were to drop it down, the light would drop off on the edges there, so I've been keeping it up a little bit. But I need to come in here and actually do some managing of these plants. I think one of the first things I want to do in order to try to manage the plant here is add in this trellis net. So flexible trellis net, this actually hooks up pretty easily to the grow tent. So I'm gonna get this in here, might do some super cropping. I don't think I'm gonna do any topping, but if I need to, I will. We're still really early in flowering. We still got a lot of the stretch period to go, so these plants are gonna grow vertically for a little while longer here. So if I were to just continue to let them grow wild, things could get out of control. So now's the time to take action. I'll add in the trellis net. I'll also look to do some lollipopping and some defoliation as well. And yeah, I think after I'm done bending branches down, it's gonna fill up this grow space entirely. So I got about 15 minutes here until the light turns off. So I'm gonna get started. And yeah, let's get this tent under control. Okay, so I have the net in there. You can see how it's connected. It comes with 4 of these pieces right here. Just put the net on there, attach it to the grow tent just like that. And you can see I just flattened everything down. I still need to do some more work. I'm gonna flatten it down a little bit more and then start to tuck branches underneath. I haven't done that yet, so let me do that and then we'll go from there. All right, so the lights have gone out, but I've tucked just about everything under right now. Did not have a chance to defoliate. I'm gonna have to come in here either tonight or tomorrow to start working on this. Start stripping away some of these fan leaves, do a lollipopping as well to get these lowers cleaned up. And then over the matter of days, we'll start to see some of these branches kind of pop up above the net. We'll get a stretch going here for the next 10 days or so, and then we should have a solid filled up tent from there. All right, it is time to catch you all up to the plants that we have in the 4x4 grow tent. The plants on the right, there's 2 of them there. Those are on day 16 of flower. The plant on the left is on day 13 of flower, so we got about a 3-day difference between the plants. Everything looks really, really good, really healthy, and looking at the preview screen right now, and one thing just to point out is these cameras can be so deceiving. Looking at the preview, it kind of looks like there's some yellowing up top, but really it's just a combination of the white balance on the camera, the light spectrum that's being emitted can throw off the look. Also the light kind of reflecting off the leaves, that can throw it off and make things look yellow, for example. But all is good. I got the light raised to pretty much the top there. There's not much more I can pull it up. I'd have to rig something in order to bring up even more if I wanted to, but I think I'm gonna be pretty comfortable right there. I'm really happy with how this lighting is performing so far, and shout out to VivoSun for sponsoring this episode. From the tent, to the light, to the oscillating fans that I have going on, the humidifier. They hooked me up for this grow, so thanks to them. And they hook up my viewers with a discount code. You can use code MrGrow15. That works on both their website as well as Amazon. So big thanks to VivoSun. When we talk the amount of light, I did have my par meter in here. I just measured it. We're looking at about 650 ppfd dead center. Now that we are in flowering, I am thinking about raising that up. I usually like to raise it up gradually until I get to about 900 ppfd. And now that we're in the flowering stage, these plants should be able to handle that. I'm on a 12 light cycle, so factoring in DLI, that amount of light is perfectly fine. Environment conditions have been pretty solid. We're looking at 82 degrees Fahrenheit at the high. That's during lights on. And then for VPD, 1.2 VPD. So that's where I like it to be in the flower stage. 1.2 to 1.6-ish is typically the range that my environment is in the flowering stage. So that ends up being on the dark green range on the VPD chart. I did get in here and do some lollipopping. Let's go underneath here. You can see what I've done. I should get in there and clean up some more. Seeing some of these leaves kind of die off because the light just isn't getting down. So I'll take off some of the lower leaves that are dying, most likely due to lack of light. I did some defoliation, but I really need to get in there again and thin out this canopy even more. That'll allow some of the light to get down in there and will of course make it so airflow can get through the canopy as well. But everything is pretty even, not too bad. And as far as filling out the space, I mean, we're almost completely there. We're into the corner here, pretty much into the corner there. There's just a smaller branch down there. There's a hole in this corner that looks like it's not going to be filled, but we're only looking about maybe 6 to 8 inches away from the wall there. And then this corner, there is about 10 inches from the pole to the plant. And this is of course where the humidifier is, so I wouldn't really want to have this blasting on the lower part of the plant anyways. So I'm happy where it's at. It wasn't my goal to fill up this tent wall to wall anyways. It's typically not. I don't really need to maximize yield, but I know a lot of you out there do like to maximize your yield, so you'll fill up the grow space wall to wall the best you can. Different strokes for different folks. But yeah, this is how this grow ended up, so looks like I'm pretty much going wall to wall this round. Let's scroll down here and talk nutrients. So I've got Athena nutrients in both of these setups. We got a deep water culture system right here. This is the hydro bucket. Holds 3.5 gallons. Since this is day 13, I'm on a week 2 feeding. I'll show you the feeding chart in a minute. And these plants are on week 3, so on a week 3 feeding and I actually need to fill up the reservoir. It's empty right now. I'm just using a 5-gallon bucket as a reservoir. I've drilled a hole into the side and yeah, the water level is super low right now. So I'm gonna put about 4 gallons in here. And since this goes to the 2 plants that are on day 16 of flower, I'm going to do week 3 on the feeding schedule. Here is the Athena feeding schedule. So week 2 is one of the plants, week 3 is the other. They're pretty much the same. The only difference that you can see here is PK booster. So in week 3, the PK ends up being introduced. So this will go in that 5-gallon bucket reservoir. And then the DWC plant also needs to be topped off. So I'm going to do week 2 feeding for that one. I'll have to get the question about stash blend, whether or not stash blend can be used in a DWC system like this. And I haven't tried it. It's generally advised not to use stash blend in DWC, but people have done it. Shout out to Cam Z. He was one of the first, if not the first one to try it out. And he had mentioned it worked well in a much lower dose. I think he did a 1/4 dose of stash blend in his RDWC system, and he got some really amazing results from it. So I haven't done stash blend in there, but I have given stash blend to these few plants. What I'll do is I'll mix up a 1/2 teaspoon of stash blend in water. Then I'll do a soil drench with it just up top there. And then of course it's on the tray to grow, which is a wick system. And this is hooked up to that 5-gallon reservoir with Athena nutrients. So yeah, that's pretty much all they're getting for nutrition, and everything is looking good. I'm happy with the results so far. So we got a little while longer here in the stretch phase. We got maybe 5 days for the 2 plants that are on the right, and maybe 8 days for the plant there that's on the left. So we could see it grow up a little bit more, but I don't think it's gonna grow up that much more. It seems to be slowing down. And yeah, I'm really glad I added in this trellis net for support, because if I didn't, I imagine that late in the flowering stage, these plants would have buds on them that are so big that they'd be flopping all over the place. So that trellis net is gonna add some good support there that the plants are gonna need. Bud production is really starting to ramp up here. We've got a long way to go still. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you can stay up to date on how these plants progress. Really excited to see how these genetics perform and how the two different phenols look. The overall smoke of this cross was absolutely insane. So really hoping I can get similar characteristics to ones that I consumed. But with these plants coming from seed, each seed being a different pheno, it being the first generation of this cross, I could get significantly different results from what I had consumed. So we shall wait and see. Thank y'all so much for tuning in this week, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out, everyone.